Alright, it's random fandom time. Sam, your question in the last video was if I was in some sort of gaming scenario or reality, what weapon would I use? I kind of have two answers. One being if it was like a medieval themed game scenario, my choice of weapon would be a sword and shield, a bigger shield maybe, and a short sword or an axe. Axes are pretty hard to use. Or a buckler shield, which is smaller and has a dome on it with a longer sword. One of those setups would be the way I go, the shield being the main focus of my combat. I've done sword and shield combat before in real life, and I just know that that works for me already, and I know that there's a lot more going on with the sword and shield that can be utilized than they show in like movies. The second part is if I was in like a more modern style game, maybe like post-apocalyptic or maybe some sort of war scenario game. I'd love to say that I would be the sniper that was all gillied out and nobody could see and I was stealthy, which is funny because that's the route I'm going with my airsoft. But the reality is that I'd probably be more close quarter handgun, maybe a little submachine gun or like a semi-auto, fully automatic rifle, something more along those ranges for those two different game types. So Sam, I want you to think about being a settler, being one of the first settlers to come over. You're living in a village. It's more like hunter-gatherer still, where you're growing some crops, but you really depend on hunting and fishing and gathering berries, and the village all has to work together to maintain a community. All right, so you're living in this time period, this scenario, okay? Now, just imagine you're out one day, maybe you gotta go fishing or you gotta gather some berries or roots or mushrooms or hunting. You're maybe getting in the thick of the woods. Sun's starting to go down, so it's a little darker under the canopy of the trees. You can hear crickets and going, maybe a creek's nearby, all the ambient noise that a forest is creating, but then all of a sudden you hear a little noise in the bushes. Something's moving around. You pause. And then you hear a noise you've never heard before. Something demon-like. Just demonic noise coming out from the bushes, moving. All of a sudden your heart starts pounding, your blood is pumping through your veins, your adrenaline's going, your brain's trying to figure out what was that noise. All of a sudden you hear it closer, you're like, oh no, then you hear it further away, maybe it's moved by. You decide that you're heading home and you're doing it in a bit of a hurry, so you start hustling with a bit of a giddy up in your step, and you're going and breathing deep, and you can hear this noise of this blood-curdling sound in the thicket of the woods as the sun starts to go down, and your heart rate starts to increase. Sometimes it's closer, sometimes it's further. You think it might be following you, some sort of demon in the dark coming to get you. You can't see it, you can only hear it. You hear the bushes moving, you hear the other animals are stopping. It just sounds like a nightmare. You're freaking out. It might actually sound a little something like this. All right, that sound was from a modern living creature. Now imagine hearing that without the knowledge of modern times, and you would literally think that that was a demon. Not only that, but there are several noises out there that if you didn't see what was making it, you would think it was the devil on your tail. And one of these creatures that I am thinking about right now is the Wendigo. I heard about the Wendigo a few weeks back on one of the YouTube shows that you were watching about doll making. The lady made a doll look like a Wendigo, and then I started looking that up online. The Wendigo is a really underappreciated mythical creature. We've got Bigfoot, the Loch Ness monsters, we got vampires, werewolves, we even got Frankenstein. These things are talked about all the time because they're in stories. Some of them weren't even created till later on, after the Wendigo was already kind of a thing. You even have the Mothman is probably talked about more than the Wendigo. So what about the Wendigo? You know, why isn't he talked more about? But that's not really my question. I just wanted to throw that out there in the world. What about the Wendigo? It's a man's body, skinny, kind of pale, supposed to look kind of sickly. Sometimes it has fur, sometimes it's got some hide on it, sometimes it's ripped open and you can see its skeleton. Some of them have wings. There's so many different depictions of what the Wendigo might look like, but for sure it's got a deer or elk-like head with antlers. Any artists maybe watching this video, why don't you draw me your version of the Wendigo and put it in the comments down below. Love to see some of that. But my question, Sam, for you is, do you believe mythical creatures actually existed or even still exist today? Or if they've just been a trick of the mind from our past, like the scenario that I have explained to you in this video? I can't wait to hear your answer on this one in the next episode. Thanks for watching.